The family that was grieving says, Al, thank you so much for singing, because after we heard you sing, we realized that there's some things in life that's worse than death. Thanks. No. Okay, thank you. Yeah. Now you can all hear me okay? Okay. Anyway, I am so happy to be here. I love this country very much. Through my father, Joseph Sale, I actually pronounce it Sale, but Sue is close enough, because in the army they call me Sue. Sue. Anyway, he fought in the First World War. He was 19 at the time, went to France, and had 7 campaigns. He came back home. And when the Second World War started, my brother was old enough to be in. I was a little too young then. But he said, none of my son will be drafted. None of my son will be drafted. What he meant was, you're going to volunteer. You volunteer. He was a patriot, and he loved his country. And so when the Korean War started, it was natural for me to volunteer. So I went in. And see, I was a shoe shine boy before, as a kid during the war days. And we saw in Hawaii, there's a lot of service personnel, because it's a place where they cross over to Japan, campaign there. And we used to shine shoes, and I noticed that the paratroopers were the sharpest guys there. And I said, gee, who are these people? And we just want to shine your shoes and lose them. But I never did. And so when I found out what they did, who they are, where they're going to go, they jumped in New Guinea. And they were combat troops. And at that age, I was about 13, 12, 13, 14. I knew I wanted to be a paratrooper. I knew I wanted to be. And so when the Korean War started, we were naturally promoted to the win. And it's a very interesting side thing. About 99% of these young men in 1950, when I went in, never been in an airplane. Never been in an airplane. Sorry, yeah. Never been in an airplane before. And never even touched one, for that matter. Because it was a first experience for us. So I said, why were we doing that often? Well, it's because of the, they say no guts, no glory. Yeah, we were the kind of guys that want to experience excitement, something different. So anyway, the 82nd Airborne was asked to participate in the jump in 1952. I shall always remember the day, April 22nd. I think it was the 504 Parachute Infantry Regiment, company, Ed Fox Company and George Company. I was going to ask, how many of you were in that company? I really want to see some of you, if there's any. Please raise your hand. No, I don't see any. Well, that's too bad, because it seems like, I lost some friends there. They had cancer and things like that. But anyway, but it did me a lot of good, because I think it preserved me. See, I'm about 82, well, I'm 83. But I feel another day for 100. And I think I owe it to that prophet of Eucharist. Thank goodness. No, I'm just being facetious, no. But it was exciting. And so there were about maybe 2 companies, which comprises almost 300 people that jumped that day. We were 3 miles from ground zero with the other soldiers and Marines. And I experienced the most exciting time because the countdown from 10 to 0, I anticipated that explosion, but I never thought it would be that exciting. The sound was so great, and all of a sudden I felt the heat that came over us, and I could feel that it was hot, but we were in the trenches, 3 miles from ground zero. And as I looked up, about this high, this angle, I could see the rolling donut, a fiery donut overhead, fiery donut, huge. I wish I had a camera to take a picture of it, but I've never seen anything like that. And so after the bomb exploded, in about 25, 30 minutes, they asked these two companies of paratroopers to go onto the trucks to, and they'll drive us to the airstrip. Now, how long that drive was, I don't remember. It's so long ago, but it wasn't very long. And there were probably about 20 airplanes to fit 300 people. We were C-47s, and so we came over the drop zone, or the ground zero, and there was a West Point graduate, a Lieutenant Miller. I never forgot that name. He wasn't in our airplane. He was in the airplane back of us. Lieutenant Miller. We call him 1 Mile Miller because he jumped on the plane 1 mile before the drop zone. Because someone said, gung ho. He said, well, let's go. And he went out, and so the rest of the troop, I was told, they said, well, heck, let's get out of here. Go with him. But our airplane got into target okay. We came over target. And I remember that was the third man out of the airplane. And there were about, I would say, 20 people, 12 or 13 on each side of the airplane with 2 doors. We exited within, I think each man wouldn't take more than half a second. And we got to the door, boom, shoot up the door. And so the first thing I yelled was, go for broke. You know, that's my slogan, go for broke. Just to shut up the anxiety, the statement, so they gave me that courage. So we jumped out. And as I felt it, see, usually the parachute drop on the T-7 parachutes are very shallow. It was a Second World War parachute. And so when it opened, it has a tremendous shock. Pow! And so, but this time I didn't feel any. And so I saw, you know, something was not quite right. So I looked up, and sure enough, the parachute malfunctioned. It didn't open properly. And it was, well, they call it May West, but there's many different type of May West. This was quite severe. I had another May West prior to that when I was at Fort Bragg, but this one was much more advanced malfunction. So I looked up and said, well, I'm coming down pretty fast and faster than normal. So I pulled my reserve. I just didn't have the time or the luxury to panic, just be scared. You just don't have that. If people have, were you scared? I said, I don't think I could allow myself the time. There's no time for that. And so I just pulled the parachute, held it to my hand for a split second, and threw it as far as I can so it doesn't tangle with the main chute that was leading. Because it'll catch up with me, because I have done that before that prior to malfunction. And so it opened, and then I climbed up on my riser to fix the main parachute. It didn't have, anyway, I fixed it, and that's when I looked down and I saw the photographer. He was from a movie town, and when I landed, I remember the first word I heard, he was right next to me. I said, what the heck are you doing here? You know, he said, never mind, soldier. He said, so we put our M1, we had all in the battle gear on it. So we put our M1 rifle together and everything, we took off. And as I went out, we saw these animals. They were pigs, goats, sheep, and different animals in a cage. And they were, some were shaved, some were not shaved. And I could see that they were burnt. You know, they were burnt. And some were sort of red, really red from the irradiation. And so they were all over us. So we, and also I noticed there were no Joshua trees around. Yeah, they just went away, because I know that there were a lot of trees like that in this area. And so we saw all these things, and one I saw, I'll never forget, this eye was so wide open, it was red. I think it was a sheep. The eye was red, and it's all bloodshot, and it was looking at me, but I don't think he saw anybody. He was blind. And so we double time out of there. And after we got out to the perimeter, there were some scientists there that had a Geiger counter and was, going down our uniform and our equipment, testing for radiation. And I don't know if the air is laced with radiation, I don't know, but it was, I would say before reach out to, I think it was about less than an hour.